Hello everyone. Welcome to this wine tasting event here that's being sponsored by the PEO, and also coming to understand some of the wines that we're going to be tasting today. My name is MJ and I work here at Vegas Valley Winery. So I know you've had introduction already and information from Nancy and the group about what we're doing today. We wanted to put this video together for the people that weren't able to log on to the Zoom meeting. So it's going to be very informative, maybe a little bit more condensed than the Zoom meeting would be, in so much as question asking is going to be reduced substantially. But if you want to have more information or any questions answered, just contact me here at Vegas Valley Winery and we'll get back to you with any of those questions that you may have. So one of the first wines that we're going to do today, I'm just going to jump right into this with you, is our Whimsical. Now, our Whimsical is a dry Riesling. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Riesling. It's a very popular wine. Ours is, we have two here at Vegas Valley Winery. We have the drier Riesling, which is our Whimsical, and then we have the Riesling that you may be more familiar with, which is the Subtle Blonde. So that's going to be a little bit sweeter. Now, with the Whimsical, what we have done is we have let the yeast consume a lot more of the sugar in the fermentation processes, and this is what makes the wine a little bit drier. Now, dry is relative to a lot of people. This I would refer to as a semi-dry Riesling. So this is something that has really come up in today's wine tasting venues across the country, around the world actually, because people want that little bit of the Riesling, but a little bit more of a drier aspect of the Riesling. This particular Riesling that Nancy, and Lenore have picked out is once again our Whimsical. Now, we're going to go ahead today and pair the Whimsical with a cheese, in this case a goat cheese. It also goes really well with any sort of creamy cheese because the wine itself has a little bit higher acidity. So when you have a wine that has a little bit more acidity, you want something to pair it with that's going to be creamy and cut that. That is the purpose of pairing, is you're blending two different flavor profiles together to create a wonderful experience. And that's what this is all about today. So what we have in our kit today, as was explained to you by Nancy, is a goat cheese with oyster crackers. Now, any type of cracker could be used, or you can use a little baguette, mini baguette, and smear some cream cheese all over it. That's a picnic for sure as we get up to the summer months. And take the bottle of Whimsical with you to the picnic. That means you have to come down here and visit us at Vegas Valley Winery to get some Whimsical by the bottle. So what we're going to do today when we're pairing is to just go ahead and take a little bit of the goat cheese that we have here. This is a standard unflavored goat cheese. Herb goat cheese goes extremely well. It also goes really well with a Sauvignon Blanc. Nice and creamy. And the first thing we'll do is we will pour, in your case, pour the bottle into the glass. And I want you to go ahead and give it a good sniff. Put your nose right in. Inhale the aromas in the bouquet of the wine. Now we want to wake this up. It's been sleeping in those little bottles. So let's wake it up, put it on the table, and swirl it really well. On the table you have more control over and you get a better vortex on it. So now that we've done that, we'll do that with all of our wines today that we're tasting. Then I want you to go ahead and smell it again. And notice the difference in the aromatics of the wine. They're released when we do that because we're oxygenating it a little bit and releasing all the fruit flavor profiles of the wine. So now take a little bite of your cracker, and then with the goat cheese, and then just a little sip of wine. lay on your palate and mingle with the goat cheese. Now you'll notice how well these things pair. A wine that's very acidic will cause you to salivate. You'll notice that right away when you drink a wine that has more acid on it. That can give you a little bit of a clue also as to maybe I should be pairing it with a certain type of food that benefits and profiles the wine a little bit better. Okay, folks, now we're going to go ahead and move on to the next wine and pairing. Now, this is going to be a fun one in the category that this is in. This is our Rosa Secco. Now, rosé can be made in many different ways. This one is a direct press, and this particular rosé is made from the Sangiovese grape. So the Sangiovese grape, in case you may not be very familiar with it, is one that is used in a blending made for Chianti. So if you're familiar with Chianti, everybody goes, you mean the one that's in those little baskets? Yes, the one that's in they're a little more sophisticated now, but that's pretty much how everybody originally knew Chianti. Sangiovese is also used in blending several actually, Super Tuscans, Brunellos, Montepulcianos. So that is actually the red grape, which is a Sangiovese grape. So what we've done with this is we have, like I said, made a rosé from it. Given the fact that the Sangiovese grape is a drier grape, it's not a very, very sweet grape like maybe the Riesling grape is. So this is going to be a drier style rosé. Now, when I say dry, I don't mean bone chilling to where your tongue gets stuck to the roof of your mouth dry. I mean, it is one of those wines that is known as a Provence style, which is very much made in southern France, in Provence. They make this particular style of rosé. So this has a lot of strawberry and melon and a little bit of orange on the nose and on the palate. It goes well with almost everything that you pair it with. You can take this from appetizer through the main course, even with Kentucky Fried Chicken, if you will, because it is such a versatile wine. It's not too sweet, it's not too dry. It's kind of a Goldilocks thing, if you will. So that's what we can call it, your Goldilocks rosé. And then we can take this and then end it up with a little bit of a dessert. Now, you always want your dessert wines to be sweeter than your main course, if you will, or whatever your dessert is. So your wine should always be sweeter than your dessert. So in today's pairing, to get right on track, we're going to pair this one, and we can do this in a lot of different ways when you're at home with a lot of different foods, but we're going to pair it with a dark chocolate raspberry infused. Now, what I just said about sweeter wine for dessert, in this case, we've got the sweetness in here inside with the raspberry. Plus we have the melon and the strawberry notes in the wine. So this is going to be a tough one now because you got to eat chocolate. So take a little bite of this. Try to get some of that raspberry in the bite, in your mouth. So you can taste that. Excuse me for eating. Taste that raspberry when you go ahead and taste the wine. So, nice big bite. Let it melt a wee bit in your mouth. Same thing with the rosé. We're smelling it. We're swirling it. Then we're smelling it again. Oh, the strawberry and the melon is just amazing on this. Now we get to introduce it to chocolate and raspberry. Fantastic pairing. This wine is one of my favorites besides our La Rosa, which is also a lovely rosé that we have here at the winery. A little bit more fruit forward than this one. But because this wine is so versatile, pretty much, like I said, everything from a picnic to a salad to Kentucky Fried Chicken to a nice little small steak. It goes wonderfully well. Enjoy this today. Have a little bit more chocolate. Okay, next wine in our wine pairing series here today is a Zinfandel. California Zinfandel. This one was brought in, the grapes were brought in, I should say, from Paso Robles. For all of you that know where Paso Robles is, near San Luis Obispo. It's up on top of the mesa above the San Luis Obispo area. And wonderful, wonderful fruit comes out of that area. So that's why our Zinfandel right now is from Paso Robles grapes, which we bring in here to the winery, and we crush them and press them to make wine here. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go along, that we are a working winery where you actually can make your own wine by the barrel, or you can join us to make it by the case and share it with your friends and put your own labels on it. Give it away for Christmas presents, or maybe if you have a business, put it on your business card as a label and give it out as gifts and thank you gifts. This works really well for realtors as far as gifts and presents, as well as any other industry where you're thanking your customer for coming in and availing themselves of your services. So right now we're going to get into like I said, the Zinfandel. Now, because we've just had a sweet wine, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit as far as the ordering, the congruency of the different varietals. You might want to have a little sip of water now, and kind of a cracker or cleanse your palate. You've got some crackers here in this this display here. You also have your oyster crackers and a little sip of water, because this is going to be a little bit of a trade-up. Now, when I'm tasting and doing tastings here in the winery, what I'll recommend oftentimes is to have a sweet wine, as in this case with the chocolate, as more of your dessert after you have a main red. But it can also be done, like I said, separately in your picnic basket and throw in some chocolates. Come on. All right, Zinfandel. Now, we have in this pairing, we have Asiago crackers, and we also have hatch chili sausages. Now, these sausages are pretty spicy. You can use a spicy pepperoni would work really well too for this particular one if the hatch chilies are a little bit too strong. So you think pepperoni pizzas, you think anything that's Italian, lasagnas, so on and so forth, because Zinfandel is about a 3,000 to 3,500-year-old varietal. It originated in Croatia, came across through the Adriatic, crossed over to an area in Italy called Puglia, which is where most people know it as Primitivo. Now, through the immigration that we have going westward through the years and coming to the New World, we've taken an old world varietal and brought it to the New World. So we have new plantings here. It came into New York, and then a lot of the immigrants came west and planted in California. At one time, it was one of the most widely planted varietals in California. And when it came here, it was called Zinfandel. So this is just a little interesting history as regards the Zinfandel grape. Very, very popular varietal. But if you go to the store, it's also called, once again, you can see it there as Primitivo. Maybe a little tiny bit earthier, but it's amazing what happens in this wine industry when different grape varietals are called different names in different countries. I'm sure you all know the Syrah, Shiraz, the Pinot Gris, Pinot Grigio type of differences. Burgundy is Pinot Noir. So everything that we do in this wine world is done just to make it more fascinating for you so you can research it a little bit more. So what we'll do right now is do a quick tasting on this Zinfandel, and if you've kind of cleansed your palate a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and take a little bite of this hatch sausage, pepperoni type. Very good, but spicy. Now, you might want to put a little bit of the Asiago cracker in there too. Tamper it down a wee bit. Now we're smelling our wine again, and now we're going to swirl it, and now you smell that lush berry. A little bit of pepper. It's got a lot more fruit in it than a lot of other reds that we have, and this one pairs very nicely. Like I said, with pizzas, with lasagnas, with anything, think of the wine and think of the country, and that often gives you really, really good pairing ideas. Also goes really well with steaks, because the fat in the steaks and the salt that are in the meat also have a tendency to soften it even more. Not overwhelm it, but bring out the fruit and the berries that are flavors that are in the wine. Zinfandel is never really tannic. It's a medium body, medium intensity wine. And that's why it's such a very, very popular wine in California. Oh, let me not forget white Zinfandel. How many people have said to me when I poured a glass, how come it's not pink? Because this is not white Zinfandel. This is where Zinfandel came from. Much like we talked about with the rosé, coming from a red wine. White Zinfandel is basically a rosé of Zinfandel. So, and there's a long, funny story about how that whole white Zinfandel craze started in California and set her home. Tell you what, if you want to know a little bit more about that story, come on in and come and see us, and we can talk about the story and all of the fun stories that go with winemaking. We have great events here at Vegas Valley Winery. If you go on our webpage, our vegasvalleywinery.com, jump onto our Facebook, you will see the many, many events that we have, and the governor is opening us up. As of March 15th, we're allowed to have 50%. Pretty soon that will increase to where we'll go back up to our normal. But we have everything here from booze yoga to bead making to wine making. That's probably the most important thing. Bring your friends here, take a tour, learn how you can make that barrel of wine or make a couple of cases of wine. You will meet so many people, so many wonderful people, and our wine experts here will be happy to help you along with your winemaking experience. Everything from throwing those grapes into the crusher and pressing it and adding the yeast to it with our professor of yeastology, KJ, will show you and talk to you about the chemical reactions that cause the fermentation, why we do it and how long we do it. There's so much to learn here. It's an experience. It's not just about coming here and having a glass of wine and maybe a pizza, which we have on all of our Vegas Valley Nights games. Buy 2 glasses of wine, get a complimentary pizza. But we also talk to you and teach you about wine and wine experiences, because that's what it's all about these days. It's about the experience. So come and join us at Vegas Valley Winery and get the full-size bottles and learn about all the other varietals that we have here, and maybe we'll pique your interest on a new one. Thank you all very much for listening to me. Any question, once again, just email those to Vegas Valley Winery, to Patty at Vegas Valley Winery or Crystal, and they'll get them back to me, and we'll go through and get all your questions answered. Or once again, come and see me directly and I'll answer them. Thanks again. Have a wonderful night. Enjoy these wines. And thank you very much, Nancy. And I'm going to hand it back to you, and she'll explain a little bit about all the discounts and benefits that were coming out, plus the 2-for-1 tasting tickets that are in your bag with your wine. Let's use them. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.